Parents of Reddit. What lessons have to try to teach your kids that completely backfired? My dad tried to implement the whole you must eat all the food on your plate in our house during meals. My mom was never a fan of that lesson. But my dad was stubborn, so she just let it go. Well, one day my sibling had 2-3 bites of food left on their plate and was very clear that they were absolutely full and couldn't eat another bite. Dad wasn't having it and insisted they could not leave the table until all the food on their plate was gone. My sibling realized they weren't going to convince our dad that they were too full and finished the last few bites and then proceeded to vomit on the table and our dad. He stopped enforcing the rule after that. Not a parent, but when I was around 12, my father suspected that I stayed up late playing video games. Even though I didn't. One night he went into my room and told me that I shouldn't play my Game Boy Advance past bedtime because I needed to rest. That's when I realized I could play my Game Boy Advance past bedtime. And I've suffered from insomnia since then. This story is my favorite. When parents give you an idea you didn't even consider previously. And she said, it's important for kids to be good in sports because the alternative is drugs. Well, that was the first time I'd heard there was an alternative. My aunt and uncle were trying to teach my cousin manners and wanted him to address people as Mr. and Mrs. They used each other as examples and consequently were known as Mr. Iannucci for 2 months. One of the funniest moments of my life was hearing my uncle describe how in the middle of the night instead of dad he started hearing Mr. Iannucci. Cracked me up every time. My 4yo cousin was taught to introduce people at school. He would introduce his parents to people like, hello, I would like you to meet my friends, mommy and daddy. I'm kind of sad he grew out of that. This is so adorable. A friend of mine was trying to teach his son not to hit his daughter. So anytime the son hit the daughter, he started hitting the son in the head. Not hard, but enough to hopefully jog some sense of empathy. Actual result. The son would cover his head with one hand and smack his sister with the other. Not a parent. But as a child I noticed my sister was writing her name on the walls when she was drawing on them with crayon. Taking on the role of helpful big sister. I informed her if she was going to graffiti things she shouldn't write her name and give herself away. A few weeks later, she was carving patterns into the wooden desk in the study and carved my name into it instead. I remember in 3rd grade getting in trouble for putting graffiti on the school wall. The artist had signed it with my first name, which is a fairly common name. I was both outraged at the false accusation and offended that they thought I was that stupid. In kindergarten I took a pencil to recess and wrote duck on the playground with my name right below it, so it ended up looking like duck. My name. Didn't think it through. Had to go out and erase it with the principal. Not a parent. But my in-laws love telling this story about my fiance. He was resistant to potty training. And they eventually got him to start using the potty by telling him that he had to be out of pull-ups before a family trip to Disney World. Because Mickey Mouse only sees big boys and girls. And also who wants to lug a diaper bag around Disney? Anyway, it went great. They had a great trip. And the day after they got back, he took a shit in the living room. When asked, he said, I don't gotta use the potty cause I already saw Mickey Mouse. They very firmly told him that if he was old enough to use logic, he was far too old for diapers. And that was the end of that. My daughter did something similar. My mill promised her a Hello Kitty house playset for learning to use the potty. So after 1 week of using the potty every time she had to go, my mill gave her the Hello Kitty house. Next day she started wetting herself again because she got the house, so what was the point in still using the potty? I explained she still had to use the potty to be a big girl and made a sticker chart. No more promising toys for things the child has to do. But a sticker chart seems to work wonders in my house. When my daughter was young I was trying to teach her the value of money and decided to start giving her an allowance. She had a few tasks to do around the house and afterwards on the weekends before we would go out, I'd give her $5. I explained that because she helped out and did her chores, She had earned money to spend on whatever she wanted. She happily accepted and stashed her money in her room. I thought nothing of it. Later that evening, before I tucked her into bed after reading to her, she goes to her money jar, pulls out $2 and hands it to me, and explains that it's for being a good daddy. Edit. It's come to my attention this isn't the definition of backfiring. Please take back your imaginary internet points. To answer some questions. After I got the money, I gave her a hug and told her I loved her. When she was asleep, I put the money and some more in her jar. Buy yourself something nice, hun. I said nice, not expensive. Today I learned that teaching kids lessons is like getting your wish granted by Douchebag Genie. When I was about 2 years old, my family was at a game in Angels Stadium. My mother went to the restroom and left me and my siblings with my dad. While he was busy watching, I wandered off. When they eventually found me, I was halfway around the stadium. A crowd had gathered to watch as a police officer held me out at arm's length while I screamed, "Call the police. This man is not my daddy," over and over again. My parents had taught me stranger danger, but forgot to teach me what police look like. Edit. Grammar. Call the police. Sir. We are the police. I need an adult. I am an adult. Saw a clip on local news about a toddler saving her mom's life by calling 911 when she collapsed. Figured it was a good idea to teach my toddler 911. Had 2 cops at my door 5 minutes later. Good response time. My youngest niece did that, the false call, and the cops were cool about it. They stormed in thinking it was serious, much to mortification of my sister-in-law. But soon the truth came out that it was a toddler who called them. They sat her down and had a long talk with her, explaining to her that calling 911 should only be for an emergency, like when people are hurt. Once she seemed to understand, they gave her a sticker of a police badge and left. Her interpretation: call 911. Get sticker. I wanted to teach my son the value of money and work ethic because he kept wanting Robux. I decided it would be a great teaching moment and a win-win opportunity, as he was just getting to the age in which I think he should start doing chores around the house. He really wanted to buy some skin or something. So I created a chore chart and gave each chore a value. We established a schedule and everything. It was working out majestically. Every day without asking, he was doing dishes, cleaning his room, picking up the dog poop. It was epic. Then one day, I came home and nothing had been done. I asked him, "Hey man, what's up with the dishes? Oh, and go pick up the dog poop too." He simply replied, "Nah." Fighting back rage, I simply said, "Excuse me?" He said he made enough money over the last X days that he bought his skin and he was good now. It was hard to argue. This is like the same effect going to a hotel has. You go to this clean place where food is delivered to your bedside and no one is ever making you do anything. Then you go back to your crap job and crap life of having to pick up after yourself. Told my children they should always have a good reason for what they want to do as a way to curb impulsive behavior. I'm hearing about all the reasons constantly. When my daughter was 10, she wanted to try out for a community theater version of Beauty and the Beast. She got nervous though, and almost backed out, because she was so sure she wasn't going to make it. My husband, who did some acting in high school, stepped in and said that he would also audition, even though he knew he was never going to make it. He wanted to demonstrate to her that it's okay to audition for something that you don't think you're going to make. She ended up not only just making it, but she got the part of Chip. My husband got the part of Morris, Belle's father. He didn't even want to be in a goddamn play. This duckine happened to Emmy a few weeks ago. Well, kind of. I wanted to try out for a part in the female version of The Odd Couple that my town theater company is doing. My boyfriend came with me as emotional support because I was nervous. They asked him to read the male parts because no men had come to audition. The next day, he gets a call offering him a role. And I get a call saying, "Sorry, but you're not in the play." Now they want me to be the ducking stage manager. Gah. Told my children repeatedly that if I found any more mess junk on their bedroom floor, I would be donating it to the thrift store. I told them they had 15 minutes to clean it up off the floor. Came back to find everything picked up. Except they went into the kitchen cupboards and had put every food they didn't like in a nice neat pile right in the middle of the floor. My youngest boy would never listen. And he was always totally fearless. He was also always really lucky. Damn near every time either of us told him don't do that, you're going to get hurt, he would do it and then not get hurt. So we ended up teaching him that when we said not to do something, that probably meant it was a fun thing to do. I remember really hoping that he would fall and break an arm or something non-life threatening or disabling like that so he would stop constantly giving us heart attacks. Which is weird to say as a parent, but it never happened, so it doesn't matter anyway. He never got anything worse than a small scrape or cut that could be cleaned and covered in 5 minutes before he was back at it again. Looking back, I'm just glad this was before there was anything like Jack out around to further encourage that shit. Now he's a stunt man for movies. Can't say I'm surprised. When my older son was about 3 or 4 years old, we realized he was starting to act very spoiled and materialistic. We always tried to make him see how lucky he already had it. But he constantly begged us for every toy, candy, and treat he saw anywhere and everywhere. Around that time, I came across a great photo spread that involved the photographer traveling around the world and snapping photos of different children with their most prized possessions. Of course, the kids in the US, Canada, and Europe were mostly photographed in rooms filled with stuff. But there were also photos of children from impoverished nations, usually showing the child with only one old, dirty stuffed animal. I thought I was going to accomplish this brilliant parenting move by sitting him down and going through the photos with him. I'd explain how the kids with rooms like his were beyond lucky and he should feel more than satisfied with all of the great stuff that he had. Then I would show him the other photos and he would finally understand that there are so many other children in the world with far less than he had. We looked through the photos and talked about each one. We finally got to one with a little boy standing on his cot with his one possession, a well-loved, dingy-looking stuffed monkey. My son looked at it for a long time. I could see his wheels spinning. Success, I thought. After a long bit of silence, he finally looked up at me, gave me a sweet smile and said, "I want that monkey. Captain Price. Mission failed. We'll get him next time." How old is he now? Did you or him ever bring it up again? I'm curious as I can see this being very embarrassing to look back on. Best comment of the day. My parents made a chore chart for my brother and I, so we could earn an allowance. The chores consisted of doing dishes, picking up dog poop, raking our large yard, vacuuming the whole house, dusting, cleaning the bathrooms. There was more to the list that I couldn't remember, and for a bonus I could wash my parents' cars. But the maximum I could earn was $3 a week if I did all the chores plus the bonuses. Most of the time they gave me $2 and would give me $1 if I had a bad attitude at some point during the week. I was 10 and I wanted to buy her an iPod. All I learned was that doing chores was pointless, so I just waited for holidays so my other family members would give me money and let my little brother do chores until he realized $3 a week for 15 plus hours of chores was a scam.